So the next thing we need to talk about is constants. So a constant is exactly the same as a variable, except with a constant, the values do not change whilst the program is running. So with constants, what we find as well is that we write it exactly the same as we would do a variable. So for example, we will write a name, and then we will assign it a value. So in this case, we will precede it with the word const to indicate that it's a constant. So in this example here that you can see, what you find here is that it says constant pi. So we know that pi is a fixed number, so 3.14 recurring. So the only difference here is that we write constant as capitals to indicate that they are it's a value that doesn't change. So as I said, constants are used exactly the same way, but they don't change whilst the program is running. Again, VAT in the UK at the moment is still set at 20%, so we can use VAT also as a constant. Now, the other thing to mention is that constants are often declared at the beginning of a code, so that whilst the rest of the program runs, we have the value of constant staying the same. Now, that covers constants. The next thing we need to talk about is data structures. Now, a data structure literally is how we store data within a program. So an array, for example, is a set of data that's stored with the same data type, and they are like a variable, except the only difference is that we can store multiple values within that one variable. So we use one identifier. So for example, in this case, I've got game score, and game score can store up to 6 elements. So each item that we store in an array is called an element. Yeah. So in this case, I've got game score 0 is storing the first element. Game score 1 is storing the second element. Game score 2, third element, all the way through to the fifth. The fifth element, which is the sixth item. Because all programming languages would use a 0 index position for the first item. Okay. So if, for example, I'm now trying to call up game score 6, it will tell me it is out of bound because there isn't game score 6 defined at the moment. Okay, so that's how we will write it in Python. This is how we would declare an array in visualbasic.net. Again, you need to know this. So we would declare the variable as normal. So we would say dim to define that. The name. Then in the round bracket here, the difference with Python and VB.net is that we're using a round bracket for VB.net, and in Python we use the square bracket. So here we're saying that we can store up to 10 elements, because we're saying score can have score 0, score 1, score 2, all the way through to 9, which will give us our 10 integer elements. Okay, so what I'll do as well is I will show you this in practice in Python. So I'm just going to load Python idle. So I'm going to show you how to write an array here. So for example, if I want to have an array of names, which of course is going to be an array of string, so I'm going to put a square bracket. First name on here is Alice. So we separate each element with a comma. Then let's say Bob. Then let's say Ade. And then next one is going to be Tommy. And lastly, let me have Jane. Okay, so I'll end it off. So you now notice my one variable called name now has multiple values stored inside of it. Okay, and each one of these can be referenced by their index position. So Alice will be index 0, Bob will be index 1, Ade will be index 2, Tommy will be index 3, and Jane will be index 4. But we'll see this now in practice. Oh, there's a problem there. I didn't put the equal sign. So I'm just going to go back and actually just put equal here to make my assignment. So I'm saying there, equal that. Right, so then what I can now say is name square bracket, 0, close square bracket. This should now give me Alice, as you can see. Now, if I did that again, and I want to be able to get, say, Tommy, one of let's just go through the list one by one. I want Bob, that gives me Bob. Go back through. Number 2 should give me Ade, yeah, and so on and so forth. So number 3 gives me Tommy, and number 4 should give me Jane. Now you notice that you can get an error. So imagine I went here and I put number 5, okay, it tells me the list index is out of range because we haven't assigned anything to the 5th element position. So it will be, now what it's saying is that I'm asking it for something where it hasn't got a value. So it's gone beyond the number of elements that there are currently in the array. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And there are more things that we can do with arrays. We can append to an array. So I can join, I can add an element to an array. I can pop things out of an array. But for this purpose of this, we don't need to learn any more than that.